Hello everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Vaahini Virtual Learning Series. My name is Deepashri Basu. I'm part of the Accenture Human Resources Organization and I'm part of the Human Resources Centers of Expertise Organization, and I lead employee engagement for Accenture. I'm here with you today and I'm very pleased and honored to be here with you today and with an esteemed guest of ours. Over the next couple of minutes, here's what we'll do. I'll start off by giving you an introduction into Accenture and our inclusion and diversity programs and our philosophy around inclusion and diversity. Then we'll start the session with our guest today, and she'll take you through her journey and her experiences. Following that, we'll leave the floor open for questions, any questions that you have around our guest experiences or any questions that you have around your own journey, etc. After that, we'll sum up the session and close it for the day. So starting with Accenture and our journey around inclusion and diversity. So why is inclusion and diversity so important to us? It is a way of life for us. It is very central to the way we do business. It's actually a part of our core values. On the left today, if you see the slide here shows what our core values are. And one of our core values is respect for the individual. That is what really summarizes our philosophy around inclusion and diversity. We believe in respecting each and every employee who works with us. We believe in respecting the different diverse backgrounds and cultures they work with us, they come from, and therefore the value that they bring to our organization. Our goal around inclusion and diversity is in fact to be an equitable organization for all our people, and thereby work towards making inclusion and diversity a way of life for us. What are our promises? When I talk about diversity, there are a couple of different segments that we look at in Accenture. We look at gender diversity. We look at, therefore, making this a best employer, making this a better place for women to work with. One of our promises is to be a best employer for women in India. So therefore, to increase representation of women in our workforce and in our leadership roles. We are also, we work towards creating a culture of inclusion at our workplace and therefore creating accountability for actions around inclusion and diversity, and create measures that we put in place, which is actually to sustain that culture of accountability. The other goal for us is, of course, to establish Accenture as a thought leader in the area of inclusion and diversity. One of the things that we do around Vaahini really is to take what we've created internally for our women here in Accenture and to take it outside to the community of women professionals, so that we are able to bring some of the learnings that we've had internally to a community of women professionals outside Accenture. So those are our promises. What are some of the actions that we take? I spoke about being a best employer for women. One of our actions is really focused on attracting more women into the workplace, retaining the women that we have today working with us, and of course growing women through the ranks into key leadership positions inside of Accenture. While we do talk about women at the workplace, we also do focus on other segments of diversity. Cross-cultural diversity is one of them. We are also very heavily focused on generational diversity, given the changing workforce construct today, and with more people from the Gen Y entering the workforce. The other areas of focus for us are, of course, on working closely with people with disability, and also working closely with people belonging to the LGBT community, which is lesbians, gay, bisexuals, and transsexuals. So what is Vaahini? I spoke about how we are committed to bringing what we do internally to a community of women professionals outside Accenture. We created Vaahini as a community of women internally for Accenture a couple of years ago. It was started within Accenture India in 2005, and this was really a community of women who got together with a commitment of building a better workplace for women in Accenture. In 2010, we introduced and opened this community to women outside Accenture through a website, which is the Vaahini online website. The Vaahini online website is committed to building and strengthening the community of women professionals in the corporate world in India. As part of this initiative or program, we do a couple of what we call virtual learning series, where our commitment is to get women achievers and experts to talk to women across India about their personal journeys and their their learnings, and to help other women learn from their stories and learn from their experiences. Themes that we've covered so far include leadership, social networking, career development of women, etc. This has been a very popular initiative so far, and we continue to make great strides in this. So going forward, today's topic is about women in leadership, about how do you pursue your professional ambition. Before I hand it over to our guest, I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to talk to you about what we do internally to support women in leadership. So we have a couple of leadership development programs which are focused specifically on building skills and capabilities in our women leaders. We do have specific programs for our high-performing women. Apart from that, we also give a lot of stress in learning through other people's experiences, in learning through experiences of our women leaders internally, women who've made it through the ranks to executive leading positions. And also we get guest speakers from outside like we have today, so that our women can learn from their stories as well. With that, I'm going to introduce today's speaker. It gives me great pleasure to introduce Nisha Millet Chatterjee with us. Nisha, as you may know, is an Arjuna Award winner and is a former Olympics swimmer. She was in fact the first Indian to qualify for swimming in Olympics. In a 15-year career, which started at the age of 9, she's had more than 600 gold medals to her credit at various levels, at national, state, and international levels. And Nisha, welcome, and we look forward to talking to you today.
A very good afternoon. It's wonderful to be at Accenture for this Vaahini webinar and to connect with a lot of the women in corporate India today. I'd like to just take you over the next few minutes through my personal journey from being a child who was petrified of the water to swimming at the Olympics 9 years later. And let me tell you, I had a lot of ups and downs, but it was well worth it sitting at the Olympic stadium during the opening ceremony. I learned to swim at the age of 9, and I had a bad experience at the age of 4 when I fell into a swimming pond. And my dad had to fish me out. I was just playing with friends and somebody pushed me by mistake and I fell into this pond. And dad pulled me out, but by the time I had swallowed a couple of gulps of water, and I was petrified of the water after that, So my father decided to enroll me in summer swimming classes when I was living in Chennai. And that's how my swimming career started. And as they say, there's no looking back. I fell in love with the water all over again and had a long 15-year career which culminated with the 2000 Olympics in Sydney. And you'd probably say swimming laps in a pool, how does that make you a leader? Well, I'm here to talk about leadership, women in leadership, and how I pursued my professional ambition and achieved my goals. Let me tell you about sports and what it does for a character. I was a very quiet girl, afraid to go out into the spotlight. Even in school, in first and second standard, I would hang out by myself, talk to myself a lot. I had just 1 or 2 friends. I wasn't very outgoing. I wasn't sporty. I would never win athletic races in school. And only when I started swimming, I started developing the confidence. And leadership in swimming starts at a very young age, or any sport for that matter. Because at the age of 9, I started training with a team. And when you swim, you have different lanes in a pool. And you have 10 people in each lane swimming in a circle. They call it a chain of swimmers. And the person at the top of the chain is the leader of that group. And so from the age of 9, I learned to lead, because if you're leading the group and a swimmer starts every 5 seconds after you, you have to make sure that you don't stop, you don't slow down. And that's the only way. Otherwise, everybody bangs into you one after the other, and the whole workout is disrupted. So literally from the age of 9, I was pushed into a leadership role. That started giving me a lot of confidence. And then at the age of 16 was the first time I led an Indian team at the World Championships. And currently, so many years later, the age of 29, I now run a swimming academy, and now I'm leading a team of coaches and little, budding champions of the future. So let me just take you through my insights on what I think are the 10 tips to be a good leader, especially for a woman. The first thing I would say is definitely lead by example. In industry, I think a lot of you have heard of FIFO, which is first in and first out. Well, my philosophy is a little different. It's first in and last out, and from the time I learned swimming, when I was training and competing, I was the first one into the pool for a workout, and I was the last one out. So even after the workout finishes, I will still be perfecting my turns or my dive starts. And even now, when I have an academy, even if I have 10 coaches working with me when we're training little children, I'm the first one in and the last one out till everybody's out of the pool. So I think that's very, very important in a leader. You have to lead by example. You have to lead from the front. If you want people to trust in you and to follow your lead, you have to set a good example. Never ever be afraid of hard work. We're taught that as a swimmer day in and day out. So I think leading by example is the first quality of a leader. You can't sit on the side lanes and let other people do the work for you. You have to give it your all. And I think if there's nobody more invested in your success other than yourself. So you need to first put in the effort, and then people in a team will start following you. And even though swimming is an individual sport, we do actually train most of our lives in a team. Whether it's a very small team growing up to a much bigger team like the Indian team when we're representing the country. So I think leading by example is the way to go. The second thing I would say was to be a good listener. In order to be a leader, you should also hear what people are saying. Only then will you be heard. And I realized that from a very young age, because it's very important when you have a leader telling you what to do, you listen to them. And when you're in a leadership role, you have to listen to people who are working with you, part of your team. And I remember that when I was in Australia training for the 2000 Olympics, I actually met with a sports psychologist, which I've never done before. We think psychologists are just for problems. And he told me, you need to listen to your body, you need to listen to your mind, you need to tune in and listen to others. Sometimes your teammates have some valuable input, your coaches have some valuable input. People might be telling you what to do, but you got to listen. Which leads me to my next point. Not only do you have to listen, you also have to be a good communicator. So that's my third point on being a big leader. I would say communication is vital. Before the Olympics, the same psychologist told me, you're getting very nervous before the Olympics and you have to qualify for it. And there's a lot of pressure. I was training in Australia, so I had the media asking me questions. My parents were back home in India. They were nervous, wondering if I'm doing everything I can. And he said, just speak to them and tell them to take a step back and just say, you know what, I can do it. I'm going to give 100% every day and I will qualify for the Olympics. And it's something like that you don't even think of. So I called my parents that night and I said, I know you're very worried, if I'm putting in all my effort, and you're just asking me questions for my, or out of concern for my own well-being. But, let's talk about other things. Let's talk about movies. Let's talk about how the weather is in India. Anything but my swimming. I just want fun conversations. I want to be in the moment. I learned to communicate with my parents, and that helped me so much. And a couple of months later, I did do the qualifying time. So I think learning to communicate is very important. Even now with my swimming academy, I have my little youngsters who till date call me Nisha. None of them call me ma'am or sir. And I feel that somehow gives them a little more, a closer relationship where they feel, first of all, I will listen to them, and then they can communicate any problem. It could be about swimming, could be somebody bullying them in a class, it could be some problem with their parents. And I think that's a vital aspect of being a leader. So listening and communicating has been taught to us. My father was very, very insistent, because my mother and my sister and me are a little more quiet, a little more reserved, and we would have never been like to speak in public. And from the age of 9, he started, when people would want to interview me, instead of doing the interviews for me, regarding my sports, he'd always say, just say what's in your heart and it will all be all right. So I learned to communicate through that, a lot of public speaking through public events, and that gave me tremendous confidence and helped my swimming career in a lot of ways. The next tip I would say would be to surround yourself with successful people. I'm very particular about, to interact with people who are like-minded, who have common goals. Why would you want to spend time with people who, tell you can't achieve your goals, or who say that what you want to achieve is not possible? I want to stay with positive people with lots of energy. And from the time I was a kid, I was only 13 swimming at the senior category. At 13, normally you tend to swim more in the junior level. But I wanted to be out there with the best. So even if I came last in the competition, I would go there, sit with the senior swimmers, talk to them. And they must be wondering, who's this little kid, coming out here and trying to, sit in on our conversations. But just their mentality, the kind of confidence they have, it gave me a lot. And even now, I quit swimming in 2004. And years later, I still like to interact with, high performance athletes like, say, Pankaj Vaahini and so many of our Bangalore sporting heroes, because one thing they have is they always have goals, they always have a passion for life, they push you to achieve more. And I have a good friend, and for many years I didn't even know what a big deal he was. He's a Bangalorean, and he was recently named by the World Economic Forum as one of India's global young leaders of 2010. And I was shocked, and I asked him, I said, why didn't you talk about this before? And he said, no, I have an organization of, 4,000-5,000 employees. And I was shocked, but maybe I was drawn to him as a friend because he gives you a positive vibe, always very encouraging. And he actually came to me how to learn how to swim. But in the process, he kind of got me fit because I was slacking off a bit in the fitness point of view. So in some ways, there are always people who are successful, always boost your spirit, boost your morale. And through my swimming, I've been lucky enough to meet and associate with people like Nandan Nilekani, Rahul Dravid. And I must tell you, just being with them is inspirational because when they talk, even about normal things in their life, they have a goal in mind. I remember Nandan telling me that his one goal, he said, I've achieved a lot of things in my life, no doubt, but I really want my fitness also to be at the same level and to do something like learn how to swim. So it's so exciting to see that passion, and somebody who's achieved a lot, they still want to do more, they still want to improve. So definitely, I think for women, we need to have a kindred spirit. I have a group of female swimmers who we keep meeting up on weekends, 5-6 years after we've retired, just to talk about our lives, to give each other a little pep talk. And I think men can never have that kind of bond that as women have. So I think as women in a professional workforce, form groups, form little, even if it's a coffee date with some of your employees, your colleagues. I think it's amazing to have that interaction and, surround yourself with very successful people. And definitely, to be a great leader, you need to also learn how to follow. So that's my next tip on being a great leader. From a very young age, like I said, I was part of a team. My coach, and we called him sir. Even till today, if he calls me, I always call him sir. And we learned to follow. And if he said, do 120 laps, and you've just finished 100, so you're talking about 220 laps, you would say, yes, sir, and you do it. And it's not that he was a dictator in any way. He would listen to us if you're very tired or injured. But I think that, there's some people who say that you're either a leader or a follower. I think that's the biggest misconception. I think followers are leaders in disguise. You're learning you're learning how the team dynamics, you're learning how taking different leadership styles from people that you've worked with. And that's what probably gets you to, gets a little more insight and you know how to be a leader. So I think following is a very, very important thing. And, swimming is, even though it's an individual sport, we always swim with teams, a lot of teamwork involved. At the end of the day, it might just be you up there on the podium, but to get you there, it's a whole team. So you have to be a good follower, and then people will learn. If they feel like you know what they're going through, and you've been there and you've done that, then they're, more willing to accept advice from you. The next point would be definitely to have a very good support system. I was just reading Abhinav Bindra's book, and I'm sure all of you know Abhinav Bindra is our only individual gold medalist ever in the Olympics. And as a shooter, it's a very lonely sport. But he said, the reason I won my Olympic medal is I had an amazing support system. My parents, my coaches, and my sister were there for me throughout. And I can tell you, it's the same for any sports person. You know, in India, we don't have a very big support system as a sports person. Maybe if you're a cricketer, you do. But if you're in an Olympic discipline, I pretty much had my parents, good friends and relatives, and my coach to look after me. And you know, they were there with me through thick or thin. You know, in a year when I had my back problem, which I'll go to later, and going through surgery, they were the only ones who stuck by me and knew I could do it. And you know, that's why our Indian athletes still are a long way away from the foreign athletes. And it's mainly because when I went to train in Australia, I realized that even a small team that I was training in has such a wide group of extended support staff that it's all you have to do is swim. They take care of everything else. You know, there would be a dietitian who tell me, don't eat your pasta with tomato sauce. You know, you need the calories, have it with the cheese sauce. Or they would say you put on too much weight. And then the biomechanics specialist will say there are 5 things you need to improve in your stroke if you want to improve your time. So we had such a good support system there, extended support system, that I was able to accomplish my goals while I was there. So that's my dream for, you know, Indian swimming, that we get professionals helping out our athletes. And you can see our cricketers, our tennis players, those where some money has been invested, some time, some expertise. You can see the results, you know. So I'm only hoping that more people, you know, come into support sports. So definitely a support system is a vital point, and even as a leader, you can't do everything yourself. You have to delegate. You need a large group of support system and support staff. Also, you've got to set the bar high. When I started swimming for the first 8 or 10 years, my dream was always the Olympics. And as a 9-year-old kid, when you tell people I'm going to swim one day at the Olympics, they will literally laugh at you. And what I found was I didn't listen to anyone else except maybe my my parents, my coaches, and whoever else. And till then, till 2000 when I qualified, till then India had only sent people for swimming as a token representative. So what you would do is, if you are the top swimmer in the country, whether or not you qualified, just to give Indians a shot at swimming in the Olympics and getting that exposure, they would send Indians to the Olympics. So you didn't, I don't know, somehow I didn't feel like I deserved it if I had gone that way. So 1996, I was only 14 years old, and they decided to send a token representative because nobody else had qualified. And what happened was, you know, somebody who used a lot of influence ended up getting in. That's when my parents said, listen, you worked so hard for this. Why do you want to be the token representative? Your dream has always been the Olympics. Make it happen. So, you know, I did. I trained hard for 4 years. And every morning when I woke up, I had a picture of the Olympic rings next to my bedside, you know, with the Olympic qualifying timing. And sure enough, 4 years later, I was able to achieve it. So set the bar high, and, you know, the sky is the limit. You know, people like Michael Phelps, one of the greats of swimming. He won 4 Olympic golds in the 2004 Olympics. And he was world champion and Olympic champion at the age of 16 or 17. But he said, that's not enough. I want to set the bar even higher. And in 2008, he won 8 gold medals. You know, so I think that's what a true leader is. You keep setting the bar high. It's never enough. It will never be enough. You can see Sachin, you know, chasing his 100th time. Everyone's waiting for it, you know, the 100th 100. But it is not happening. But he's not giving up. And even if it takes him another 5 years, I'm sure he'll get there. That's the, you know, that's what I say, that's what I feel is a real, true leader. And the last few things, of course, maintaining your integrity, very important. As a sports person, you know, at all the sports days, you say, in the true spirit of sportsmanship. And we're taught from a young age, there might be people who are on drugs in sports, there might be people who are age frauds. Many times, because I was very, very tall at the age of 10, I've actually been taken to a hospital to have my age verified. And in Asia, when we went for the Asian Games, we went to Thailand. They actually had a gender verification, you know, because there are a lot of men trying to pass off as women. You know, so there's a lot of people trying to cheat. But I feel that integrity goes way beyond just swimming. I think it inculcates, it kind of goes through your entire life. So work ethic, keeping your moral values, I think all that's something the parents can obviously, who have a lot to do with. And the last and most important attribute, and is of a leader, I would say, is to have a positive attitude. And, you know, that's one thing I think women are generally very positive. They pep everybody up. They hold up the whole family, if you ask me. And the idea is to be optimistic. My favorite quote is, you're not fully dressed until you have a smile on your face. So I put that into action, and some of my friends used to call me sunshine and smiley throughout. But I think you can get through anything if you have a good outlook and a very positive outlook. And I would say, and I met Leander Paes at the 2000 Olympics. He's one of my idols as a sporting icon, and I was dying to meet him, and he just won a bronze medal at the previous Olympics for India. So I had my whole speech planned out. He was the captain of the Indian team. And I had this whole speech planned out, and I was all excited to meet him. And I got off a bus, and there he was. And I was speechless for once in my life. And, and he came up to me and he said, "Hi, Nisha, congratulations on qualifying for the 200 freestyle." And he knew my entire background. And he said, "I heard you're having some back problems and you might have to go for a surgery at some point. You know what? You worked so hard. Positive attitudes make the difference." So, that's my favorite line. When he said that to me, I forgot all about